worry. I had a student ask me, and this is a question I get a lot, is how do you know the difference between listening to the heart and listening to the mind? How do you know the difference, right, between listening, like what is your intuition? How do you define what is intuition? And the answer I give for that is the intuition is in the space of the heart and there is no fear. If your answer is coming from a place of fear, it's not coming from your heart space. It's not coming from your intuition. It's coming from your ego and it's coming from the mind. If an answer comes up and it says, well, if you don't do this, then this is going to happen, or maybe this is going to happen, and it instills a place of worry or anxiety, that is also ego, because it's ultimately sourced from a place of fear, judgment, and what's the word? Punishment, in a way, almost like punishment in a way. If you don't do this, then this might happen, or this will happen. So the way that we can move into a space of surrender is not only connecting in our meditations to remember who we truly are, to be in the space of the heart, to be in the space of our true nature, so that everything else, the scrambles and the worries and the incessant noise in the mind will start to slip away. And we can also start to see with more of a clear reality that the mind it's just trying to protect us, depending on our own personal patterns or shadows or traumas. There could be some patterns or some scars in there that are simply trying to put up places of protection, anxiety or fear. They're just like little it's trying to protect you, right? And in a world right now where we feel like there's a lack of security and there's a lot of insecurity, those are going to be more likely to come up, and it can feel a lot harder to feel the heart space. That's why we need to connect every day. It's like plugging in your battery for your divinity and your heart space to remember that connection. If we only plug in, maybe once a week or once a month, how fast is that getting depleted? Then all of a sudden, all of the ego and the mind and the conditioning and the trauma and other people's projections and then the world's energy, it's like you've got this much stuff between you, like your true nature, and what you're actually being able to perceive in your conscious mind. So when we meditate, we start to peel these layers so we can reconnect to that source within, the breath being one of the best connections as an immediate doorway to who we truly are. So although we need to take care of practical things, we also need to build and learn discernment around those things so that, we're not being driven by fear in cultivating the things that we need, like being able to support ourselves in a career or something like that, have a job, have a roof over our head, the practical things of life that we need because we're in a physical body. How we go about approaching those things, we can approach them from a place of love, a place of faith, knowing that we're not alone, knowing that, in whatever terms you want to define, we're not alone is up to you, of course. And that there is something much bigger working in the background, not just in your own personal karma, that's like things from your previous life and this life of things that still need to play out, but also in the world's karma. And as these things need to play out, we all individually are going to respond to this world as it is in a unique way. And the other aspect of it is that we have a lot less control than we think we do. And being able to just learn to accept that is a huge lift off of the shoulders. Because when things happen, it's just like, it happened. How am I going to move forward with grace from this point? How am I going to move forward from love? So there's some aspects there of answering that question of a lot of it is the faith. It's the connection to our true nature that can reassure us, can bring love back into a space where there may be a lot of fear. And that inner connection, that inner remembrance also connects us to things that we can't see, the subtle energy things, the subtle energy guides and Davies or angels or whatever you wish to call them. There's a lot more in the cosmos that's working in the background. And we have a lot less control than we think we do. We have we may be at a fork in our path, and we could take the right path or we could take the left path, and sure, we have a level of choice, but that path is still leading us to the same place. It's just sometimes the path may be a little easier and a little shorter if there's maybe some grace involved, and the other path may be a little bit more of a roundabout way to get it. I'm sure all of us have had that in our lives where we've kind of gone that roundabout way to get in somewhere. So there is an aspect of being able to acknowledge that we don't necessarily have as much control as we think we do. And when we realize that, there's a bit of like a natural letting go that occurs, because we stop fighting the natural flow of our lives so much because we're trying to control every little detail. But when we realize that we're in a river and it's going that way, and we're going whether we like it or not, we can either like fight by going upstream, or we could just be like, just let go and go, and then maybe just like manage where we're going in that river, then things just a lot easier on ourselves when we approach it from that place, and knowing that as we go down that river, if we need a lifeline, we'll be taken care of. That's a big aspect of as you deepen a meditative practice, that connection to your true nature is also a connection to what you want to call source, or the divine, or the cosmos, or the collective consciousness, the thing that unifies us all. And we see that there's much more at play in the world that our physical eyes can see. And that's where the mind starts to change and the consciousness starts to change, when we realize that the physical eyes see very little and there's a lot more going on.